be in a chair.
Yep. Haley.
Yeah.
Who is this? Who's on Dada's shirt?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Mr. Radio.
Mr. Radio?
Mm-hmm.
Remember I used to listen to Mr. Minihane on sports radio?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who Dada's going to talk to on the computer tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Who?
I don't know.
Mr. Minihane. Can you believe it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Can I have a chair?
No, we don't have any more chairs in this room.
No, look, that's the chair.
Sweetie, do you think Mr. Minihane has a set of double standards for his elite group of fans and then everybody else?
Yes.
Me too. Me too. Do you think he's going to be nice to Dada or mean to Dada?
Mean to Dada.
I do too. Do you think he is he going to play along and have fun or be super serious and not sell anything?
He's not going to sell anything.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to sell anything either. Let's see. What else? Do you think he is grumpy or happy?
He's grumpy.
Yeah, he can be grumpy. He's a good guy, though. He's a nice guy. Dada likes him. So you remember Dada listening to him on sports radio. Sometimes you would tell me to shut it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's too loud.
It was too loud.
That's the tree I want to listen in that chair.
There's another chair. Hey, guys. It's Mayo from earlier in the video. As you're going to see in a couple minutes, my adorable daughter was wrong. Very wrong. I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed. Kirk Minihane was not grumpy. He was not mean to me. He didn't even remember calling me a certain word earlier today on his show. Didn't even remember. Best friends. We didn't say that, but I don't think we even have to. You just know when you're best friends with somebody. But all joking aside, terrible joking. Speaking of terrible jokes, you're going to see one in a couple minutes at the beginning of the episode. But just unbelievable guy. I can't believe I just got to talk to Kirk. I can't believe he's doing it. He's just incredibly gracious. I can't believe the amount of time he gave me. He was super open about stuff. I thought it was a good conversation. Just unbelievable. Great guy. You'll see. Unfucking real. Okay, so here we go. I'm trying to replicate what you guys described as the KMS process of just, Kirk sits down and then we go. So Nickel's worth of free advice. Our guest is Kirk Minihane. Kirk is the host of the Kirk Minihane Show, which is presented by the Barstool Sports Network. Kirk, where can people find your podcast? Everywhere that they can find the Jerry Callahan podcast?
Was that scripted?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, it's in my head, but yeah, it was pretty.
Yes. Anywhere. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's available in all these great places. I have no. I
want to make sure the Nicholsworth fans get to know you as well.
Okay. Yeah, I can. I listen to mine on what the hell do I listen to my podcast? Not mine, but the other podcast. I listen to something called what's it like? Outcast? Where do I find it? Let me tell you 1 second. Overcast. That's where I listen to podcasts.
Really?
Yes.
I've never heard of it. Okay. All right, folks. So there you go.
I find on iTunes that I have a lot of skipping issues. I have weird when I'm running to it pauses a lot on Overcast where it doesn't on rather on iTunes where it doesn't on Overcast for me. So I find that to be a much easier listen for me.
Okay. Well, now I really wish I'd skipped that joke. But,
it's okay.
Well, thanks for doing this, Kirk. It's a little surreal to be talking to you. I know you probably don't
surreal to see your fucking bed behind you, your pillows were.
Actually, that's not my bed. That's a. Can you see the weird doll? Is the weird doll in the shot?
I can't see it now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this was our guest room. It is now a home office, and it just looks like a fucking bomb went off in here.
It looks fine.
Oh, well, thank you.
Kirk, as I always say, Captain Swinging Dick. I'm not sensing I sense some nerves here.
I'm very nervous.
You should be nervous.
I should be. Well, I mean, yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I try to be honest.
I'm looking at my. I was
nervous all day.
I have a running dox clock. I'm gonna dox you in 3 minutes and 26 seconds. So
I was thinking of doxing myself this episode.
Don't do that.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because Matt from Providence once I sent him my real name and said, I want to do this to show you that even though we're arguing and fighting, like I trust that you're a good person. So look, here's the sensitive
Who you
information
arguing
about
with?
me. Matt from Providence. So I told Matt my real name just as a gesture of good faith to say we might be fighting in the KMS world, but I know you're a good guy. Here, I'll prove I think you're a good guy. Here's the sensitive information about me. So I was thinking of doing that in this episode as a grand gesture to the Minifans at large, because doxing has been such an issue this week.
That will mean a lot to everyone. Yeah, you should
okay.
Consider that.
I'll let you do it since you apparently already have it. Did MHB give it to you?
4 minutes into doing about 14 of these podcasts, and it's one of the great regrets of my life already.
So that was that.
What time? When is this going to be on?
Tomorrow, I think.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna edit it. Although I might just let it rip the way it is. But
floor is yours.
That was my first question. Why the fuck are you here? Why are you doing this?
Well, two reasons. Number one is I think it's a good promotional tool for the YouTube channel, which I know gets some criticism in some circles, and that's fine. But I think, more people will watch each of these shows, and if fucking 20 people like this show, then 20 more people watch it, and then 20 people pay more attention to it. We're trying to grow it here, and I'm sort of the lone person who brings people in. I mean, it is my network, it is my show. And I think it'd be interesting to see how everybody does in the situation. It's a big spot for them. If they want to do it, but if somebody doesn't want to do it, I don't care. But I think it's going to be an interesting experiment to see which shows handle it well, which shows don't. I know you'll have a bunch of questions. I know you'll have a bunch of thoughts, so you'll do fine. Some of the other shows, I don't know. I think I got you today. I have DEC tomorrow. I have the Incel guys and somebody else Thursday, and then somebody, I don't know. I don't know. I got a bunch of them.
Well, what's your advice to everybody? What's a nickel's worth of advice? So everybody who's coming up after me, how do they prepare for Kirk Minihane? If they're like me and they're nervous as fuck all day long about it, what do you think? What would you tell them? I
mean, I would just say, I get it. Like I've interviewed people that I've been intimidated by. I think if you're prepared and you understand that I will answer anything you ask, and I think you'll be okay. I actually miss to some extent the art, whatever it is, of interviewing. I think I'm actually a pretty good interviewer, and I actually missed. That's one of the few things I sort of enjoyed actually. In that Enough About Me for a while was sort of, I could have, if I liked a book, I would have an author on. And I do wonder sometimes, like I finished that book I liked a lot on the U.S. gymnastics scandal. I talked about that for a few weeks. And I wonder sometimes if I'm doing a 2-hour and 40-minute show, why don't I do my regular show for 2 hours and 10 minutes, and then say for the last 30 minutes, I'll just have the guy on and talk to him. If people don't want to listen to it, you're fucking done. I don't know why I haven't done that yet necessarily. It's a long way of answering a question that has nothing to do with this. But, from a show perspective, maybe I should be doing more of that. Maybe if there's a documentary I like, I have the guy on. Or if there's somebody, because these are people who will come on versus, the people who know they're going to get the shit kicked out of them. They just, I think it's a combination of me. And when I think Steve sends out an email that says Barstool Sports, now I think you have the double whammy of these guys are fucking madmen, all that thing.
I also think that there's an example of this week with Tara Reid. I think the move towards being more of a straight up R-rated comedy show probably hurts the show's ability to get guests like Tara Reid. When Steve said she's going to listen to it, I was thinking, well, if she listens to it and they're doing a rectal thermometer segment, porn segment,
right,
is this going to be the place she comes on to talk about this big national story?
Maybe not, but like for me, the trade-off is like I'm not going to change the show to appease Tara Reid and have her on for 15 minutes and then her, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
But I think it doesn't, and I'm not blaming them at all. It's part, but when you see an email, and if you send an email to Tara Reid, and I just left independently and was going to do a podcast on my own, then she probably doesn't know who I am. But when it's attached to Barstool Sports, I think then people around her say, well, whoa, wait a minute. And it's bullshit, but it's this perception that's, I suppose earned to some extent, but not really true.
Barstool's got that stink on it. It's hard to get off.
Right.
Who was it? NAMI that wouldn't do anything with you guys because of Barstool?
That was pretty shitty.
Yeah, I like NAMI too. I was disappointed.
Yeah, me too. I've given them money. Kate and I did a walk with them a couple of years ago, maybe last year. And they were like, yeah, there's nothing to do with even me. It was this Barstool thing. And I feel like saying to them, go look around Barstool. I mean, they don't fucking do anything controversial anymore. Nothing. They do, they don't. They've been purposely not neutered, but they've been lessened in terms of being outrageous by corporate America. And you know, but you can't articulate. Once something is defined like that, you can't bring it back.
Yeah, I've been surprised since you guys got there. I was aware of Barstool Sports, but I didn't really interact with them at all until you guys landed there. All I knew was the reputation as the pirate ship.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you guys got there and I started seeing some of it, I was like, where the fuck did that come from?
I don't know. I mean, well, I think it starts like, you know, all the greatest hits, Brady's Kids, Penis, and what's her face? Who's Ponder? Shit like that. And, you know, just kind of the too bad for ESPN and all that bullshit. And, you know, I don't know. I think it's ridiculous, but, you know, like I'm defined now. It doesn't matter what I do the rest of my career. I could go and do a show where I review books every week and people will look at me one way, and that's fine. I don't really care about that. People don't pay attention, you know? So, I mean, they don't give you a chance to re-examine, you know, like Dave is not the same. Barstool's not the same as it was a couple of years ago. I would argue in some ways that's worse. I understand why they did it, but it doesn't matter. You'll never satisfy like I don't know, fucking Julie DeCaro or something like that. And they don't want you to change. That's the other thing. They're happy having you define like that, so it's somebody to go after.
And to their credit, as you guys always point out, they may have evolved one way. You guys are very different than them in terms of the type of edgy content you do, but they let you do it pretty much hassle-free.
Yeah, about 100%. You know, 99.999%, I would say.
I would love a return of the Enough About Me style interviews. I was a big Enough About Me fan. You said you had guests who intimidated you. Who intimidated you? Because it's hard to think of Kirk, Seamus Minihane being intimidated. Other than me, who intimidated you that you worked with?
Well, I think more like there were times where we knew we were going to have a big interview with me and Jerry, or me and John and Jerry. I'm trying to think of a specific one, and it just felt big, and we got them fast. And they said all of a sudden, "Hey, this Kurds would text and say, hey, he's coming on or she's coming on right away." And I don't even know you're intimidated, but you're nervous. And I'm not nervous anymore. I never feel nervous anymore, and I do miss that a little bit to some extent. I'm just so comfortable now in what I do. I'm so good at it, and I have figured out how to do it that I do miss sometimes sort of that, like, you know, it just doesn't the way our show works. Nobody's going to come on with us. And Steve's not going to say, hey, you know, I'm trying to think of somebody who's trying to get I mean, look, like, hey, you know, Linda Pizzuti's on hold right now. She's coming on, that sort of thing. Or I wouldn't be scared, but I'd be excited. And now I'm excited to do the show every day, but it's a different kind of thing where it's like, hey, you know, whatever. When we tried to get Chris Mortensen for 6 months already, the Deflategate, and we thought we had him on, and he hung up on us. Is that kind of feeling of holy shit, which is live, which is, you know, our show is live to tape, so it has that feel, but it is not live. So it's that net is still there in a weird way, though we never. I mean, I don't know. I think we're going to be 200 shows on Monday.
Yeah,
I think we've probably edited out less than 1/10% of the audio in the show's history. Maybe Steve would disagree, but something like that. Of
that 1/10%, what percentage is Steve being anti-Semitic?
Very high.
Yeah, almost all of it, right? Probably.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's like one of the ones we wound up not running was Steve masturbated to Schindler's List. It was like a picture-in-picture thing, like us, the movie, and then him masturbating. He ejaculated like 26 times. So we were sort of like, well, I don't know. It's in a way a tribute, but in a way it's not.
And it's also noteworthy just because 26 times.
Right. And
almost all the content aside of what he was doing it to.
And like Jesus himself, one of the pieces of paper he did it on a couple of weeks later came out exactly like the swastika. Like it was perfectly the crust of it, which we were going to donate to a museum, but it didn't seem like anybody was interested.
You know, I thought of telling my mother about this, and I'm glad I didn't.
No?
That was so you got mad at me for that.
I didn't get mad. I don't. Get mad.
Okay, it got under your. You said the words you used were it got under your skin.
Well, it's what I think because you're a fucking idiot. Like this is like 99% of my career is improv. I'm not saying
that's what I said.
I'm not Eugene. I'm not Second City improv.
That's
and then you said like I'm not funny Quantum Chris. Like,
I know I did not say that.
What?
What I said was exactly what you just said. That's why I was so surprised you were pissed about it. I said the show itself is improv. So obviously Kirk is good at a certain type of improv, the best at it. And then I said the type of improv I'm saying that I thought you and Steve and Mike weren't the best at was the Quantum Week Chris, you know, my improv troupe is performing in our, you know, church
basement. I don't even know that.
That's what they say. But I'm just saying you're good at improv, not necessarily in a Christopher Guest movie.
Okay.
Isn't that fair? That's what you just said.
Yes. I don't know. Like I said, my career is coming up with stuff like, you know, on the fly. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it's not. That I don't mind. But I mean, my career is rooted in improvisation.
Anything else you miss from Enough About Me or EEI? Because I know often you're pretty adamant these days. You seem to you don't like us asking you questions about the old days. You can ask about.
I don't think there's anything like those.
But I'm just saying it was striking to hear you say something you missed from then. Because often it's about just moving on. I
don't like sort of. I get not so many, but like, you know, less and less, which is good. Like I miss you and Jerry or Tangway or Mutton. I'm like, I have nothing to add to that conversation. But this is to me like a fair, you know, what do you actually miss about it? What I miss about it is so much less than what I don't miss about it. But I do sort of, you know, there was a journalistic bent to that show a lot of times that I created, that I would like to continue, that Curtis was really good at. And Jerry was interested in me continuing it. That I think with Mike and Steve, although Steve is good at it, I think the show, which I have brought into a different direction, it's hard to do that again. Now, that being said, you know, if we find out Kevin Cullen's making something up on the story again, we're going to fucking do it. You know, it's just going to be different. And it's the other thing is, you know, with like Cullen, we did the Cullen stuff. And when we talked about it at 8:12 on Thursday morning, it was all over Twitter at 8:14 on Thursday morning. Here, you know, it's consumed so differently that even like a great show, like that, whether you like the Hammer or not, or a buzzworthy show or a segment, even today when I started the show with Van Halen or whatever, which was stupid, but I got a lot of feedback. You'd get some feedback right away at 11, and then you'd see different feedback throughout the day. So it's sort of, people are consuming it in this time in history. It's so different too, because of all the quarantine stuff, but nobody is sitting down at exactly 11:22 and listening to me. If we have Tara Reid on, which I think, you know, we might have her on, it's going to be over the course of a day or two. And that's why guys like Rogan don't generate, for all their success, or even the Pardon My Take guys, as great as their podcast is, it's not super buzzworthy in a weird way, or newsworthy, you know, like even versus like say Stern with Brady, which people sat down and listened to live.
I think the only time I've seen Big Cat show be newsworthy was with Fauci.
Yeah, right.
And even then, it's, I don't, if I wasn't in your world, I don't know if I would have been aware of that.
Right. But I mean, and they have huge interviews and huge numbers, but it's just, I think everybody consumes it at different times. I know with us, it's just, we get people who listen to it right away. A lot of people listen to it right away, but then people listen to it driving home. And then I talk to people who say I'm a day behind all the time and they catch up on the weekends, or I'm still 3 shows behind. And I know with our show, it's very difficult, I think, and I've done this purposely. I think it's hard if you're a fan of the show to skip a show. You know, I think you might miss something that plays in 3 weeks later, or plays in, you know.
I cannot imagine skipping an episode. I've never even considered doing it. Even if I don't finish one day and I'll start the next one the next day, I always go back and consume every minute of it because I hate it so fucking much. It's just awful.
Well, I know you're not a fan of it.
No, that's fine. I didn't spend $83 on this T-shirt because
you keep showing me that shirt. What do you want me to say?
That's you, Kirk.
Yes, that is me.
So I'm making the point that I bought a T-shirt, even though you said I hate the show. Why'd you say I hate the show? Why'd you say me and Menners hate the show? And you said the Mincel Intel guys don't like the show.
Were you upset when I said that?
I mean, not upset, but yes, I saw red and I blacked out. And when I woke up, I tweeted.
You know what's funny about that drawing?
A blind guy drew it?
Well, it was not a great drawing. So I took him out to lunch that day and said, listen, if you want to be a better artist, what you have to do is take some lessons and keep working at it, because you just can't draw one day and then you're not going to be Da Vinci. It takes some time.
So why did that also piss you off? Because only twice, Kirk, you've reached out to me to tell me, like, shut the fuck up.
Well, the first time was Madawaska, where you were so fucking wrong. It was just I saw that. First of all, you got me. The Madawaska thing was such a trigger for me for 50 different reasons. I busted my ass to put the show together. You weren't there, right? You couldn't have been there if you would. Right. If you would have said that, you wouldn't have been there. But, I was so mad at Mike And I was so close to firing him. That day, Steve and I talked probably 15 times, and Steve was with me on it. And we both felt terrible. We didn't want to do it, but I was so mad that I felt like I had to do it. And I don't even remember, what did you say about it? It was...
So I think what I said, and I hadn't listened to the show yet, but I saw people saying, giving Mike shit for being drunk at the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I was thinking about the Vigil show where he was intoxicated, but
Were you there for that?
No, I was not there. No.
What a fan.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
you sound like R.A. Minihane.
You love the show. Yeah.
I bought tickets to the live show. I got kids. You know where I was during the Vigil? I was at the fucking YMCA in the pool with my 3-year-old at her little friend's birthday party because we'd had our second kid like 2 weeks earlier. So my wife couldn't. Usually birthday parties are the woman's job.
Right.
We're that type of household. But
sure.
But that's where I was
at the YMCA in the bathroom.
so I basically said that. I said it seemed like, well, that I could understand if it was a little bit of a gray area for Mike, whether he's allowed to drink at the live shows.
Right. And I
don't think that's an unfair thing for me to say.
No,
but then as soon as I heard the audio, it was like, oh my God, he's
I made it very
obliterated.
Clear. I think to you and to him, and I said on the show that Friday, which is not, maybe he wasn't listening. That's fine. I said it to him conversationally that Saturday itself when I was there. I said, listen, because he was already a little buzzed at the ice fishing thing. I said, we're not drinking at this live show because I don't want, and then, it becomes a thing where, and I don't want to talk about this that much, but when you're a half hour into the live show and you look over and the guy's fucking wasted, it's like, well, you can't sit there and turn the show. I try very hard, especially something like that where people are paying and they want to have a good time. It's not turning into a fucking, let's destroy Mike for being hammered. It has to become something else. So yeah. But the other thing is like, I'm not a boss who's going to sit there and say, hey, I'm going to be your mentor. If he wants to go find some mentor, he can knock himself out. He's 30 years old, just about.
I thought he was 28. I don't know.
Whatever. So he's 28 years old. I had no mentor. I came in and did it myself. And I feel like this is a business where, it doesn't work that way. This is not the insurance agency. You're not in advertising. You go in and if you're good at it, you're good at it.
But you're Kirk Minihane. Mm-hmm. So you're unique. You're one of a kind. So I'm not sure if the standard for you that you didn't have a mentor, so you don't need it, applies to Mike.
Well, I might need a mentor, but I'm just saying I'm not going to be.
It's not going to be you.
Not what I do. I just don't. It's not. I wouldn't know what to say. I mean, he's if he can find one, that's great. I don't think he's really looking for one. If he, I also think, if he's that in need of one or curious about it, he could certainly ask questions. I won't answer them, but I mean, he can maybe find somebody because I don't know, like, be funnier. I'm like, well, I don't. What do you want? I mean, like, but I don't know what the answer is. Work harder. I don't.
Could I give you an example of something that on Mike and the Minifans the other week? He said he'd had like a 2-month slump, which I think everybody had noticed. It seems like he's been really good the past 2 weeks. I think. But he said he had that slump. He said social media was in his head. Everybody shitting on him was in his head. So that's an instance where I thought, well, Kirk seems pretty good at making sure that doesn't happen to Kirk, that he doesn't let the trolls get in his head and affect his performance.
Well, I mean, I've done 20-minute shows because of them. I mean,
but but that was the best. It was 36 minutes.
Okay, but I'm just saying, I mean,
that was your best episode.
But that was them pissing me off. So, I mean,
that's true, but not to the extent of Mike. You haven't gone 2 months of saying, geez, I think I'm going to get fired tomorrow because I'm doing such a poor job. So you don't think there's any insight you could have given him to help him course correct a little sooner when he was in those?
My insight to him would be he has a job. I haven't fired him. You're here. If I get sick of you, you'll be gone. I started in 2013 I was older, but in a way tougher situation with 2 guys who fucking hated each other, a station that was dying, a perception of a station that was awful. I was nobody. I mean, Mike is coming into a situation where he's pretty welcome, and we've let him do whatever. He can do whatever he wants all the time. And I was wandering around for 3 or 4 months thinking, am I going to get fired today, tomorrow? I had no idea in 2013. And then one day I said, I have to be myself. I have to do what I do. I can't worry about what John Dennis or Jerry Callahan or Jason Wolf or some guy on Twitter or some caller or fucking Chad Finn or Fred Toucher or anybody. I don't give a fuck. I'll be myself. And Mike is going to get there. Eventually. I don't think Mike is blessed with a work ethic like mine.
I would agree.
But I don't think a lot of people are in this business. I'm lucky in a way. And then what drives me is to the brink of a lot of stuff is also what I think is a reason for my success. Like, I don't, but I don't think Mike is, I don't know.
Is he lazy?
I'm
hesitant to use that word, but I guess I've been told by people I've used pretty much synonyms for that. But to me, lazy means like it's genetic. You can't fix it. It's just what you are. Whereas I think work ethic, you can develop. I
think he's just a naturally timid guy.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't even know if it's so much laziness. I can understand why people would think that, but I don't think it's laziness so much as he's afraid to be criticized for something. And the easiest thing to do is to do the safest thing. Like, I don't know. Like I did the Bicentennial Man, which was funny. Then I did the thing with the Barstool guys, and then Mike was like, "I'll do one Friday night with the Quantum Week guys." I'm kind of like, "Well, all right, that's fine. I don't care. It's free content." But like,
and then it turns into a weekly thing.
Yeah, and it's like it's just kind of a blah thing for me, but it's something. So his argument would be, "Well, you guys asked me to do more, and I'm doing a lot." So I could see why he thinks he can't win, which leads to woe is. Are you doing Coca-Cola and Canadian? Did I see a Coke at one point too? I thought I did. No.
Yeah, I had a Coca-Cola Zero.
Why are you drinking? What do you really need?
That a little bit. I got a little bit
in your body, and it's been 23 minutes.
I'm nervous. I get cotton mouth when I'm nervous.
Okay. Well, what else? Yeah, I know I'm sure you have a whole bunch of questions.
I do. So I am trusting Kirk Minihane to just tell me to fuck off when he's done. Because I'll go. I'll just go.
Like
I'll just go.
Minutes. Go ahead.
I'll just go. But you mentioned 2013. I would love to ask you about something that I've never heard brought up before, and that is the sports debate. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. In 2013, you had a segment where you went after Toucher and Rich.
With Fred Toucher, right? Yes,
and you challenged Fred to a sports debate. And they just fucking killed you over it.
Right.
Now, what I've always wondered is, like you just said, you had to decide in 2013, fuck everybody, I'm going to do it my way. Was the sports debate the moment you realized you couldn't have it both ways? Because to me, it seemed like you wanted to be the new guy going after the enemy, which is a Kirk Minihane thing to do, but you tried to do it in a DNC way by making it about sports knowledge.
Was John Dennis influence or Jerry influence to some extent, but I also, I'm
suck.
sure, knew that it was kind of not going to be a serious sports debate with Fred Toucher. I mean, I don't really remember. I remember they went at me, and I thought it was kind of funny. I listened to it. But like Fred, and I get along fine with him now. Once I got going, he couldn't handle. I'm just smarter than he is, like just in general. Like I played the game better than he did overall, and he didn't know what to do with it. So he turned it into, this guy's going to be out of here in a year. And he'd do all these rants once in a while. But then I'd see him at the Super Bowl, and he'd be like, hey, it's all fun and games. And like, so I was like, all right, that's the way it's going to be. But yeah, like I think it was more around July or August, and we were getting just killed every week. We're losing 14-4, 14-5. And I was like, well, I'm going to get fucking, like, I don't like this show. I think the show sucks. So I'll do my thing. And if I get fired, great. But I'm going to get fired anyway if I hang around and we get our asses kicked. And I'll be the third guy in some shit show. I'll never get a chance again. So, and I was very blessed to have Jerry with me, who I think was like, oh, wow, this guy is good. He's on to something here. As opposed to, I think a lot of guys would be territorial, like trying to keep me down. Like, and Jerry, to his credit, was like, this guy, especially when we did the show together, he was like, this is your show. Like, you're the lead guy on this show, and I'm along for the ride. That takes, a lack of ego in a way that was turned out to be a great thing for me.
He's got an eye for coattails.
He does.
He sees them. He knows when to grab them, and he knows when to let go.
He does. It's a complicated relationship that clearly is rooted in love. I mean, there's no doubt we love each other. I mean,
he fucked you badly, though.
He did.
I've always just thought it's, I don't know, man. I would hope for you guys on a personal level that it's, obviously you could be friends, but it's like every couple months it would bubble back up to the surface. I don't know if that's something we can never get over.
Well, I think it's a little toxic in that we went through a lot together with Murchison, and we were best friends, just about best friends. I mean, we talked 4 or 5 times a day when we did the show together. Play golf together all the time. After my parents died, outside of my family, he was the first person I called, and I was the first person he called after his parents died. And we went through a lot, and I remember people saying to me, even when I first started, they were like, he's not as tough as he seems. He's kind of a corporate guy. And when this happened, he was mad that I bolted. He thinks I bolted and went to radio.com, and I think he didn't fight for me. And then I kicked my way out. And that whole, I mean, we've done this, but I mean, there's a lot of, it's hard, a lot of love, and there's a lot of anger that's unresolved. And we're two guys who are not ever going to admit that the other one is right or wrong on it. And, you know, he's doing this thing, and like, it's not, that podcast is not for me, but my podcast is not for him. I remember my podcast early on, he was like, it's not serious enough. You're not doing enough fighting and arguing. And I was like, well, you know, you see the direction, and it was a constant battle within our show, even as much as Jerry let me do my thing, where he didn't want to do, like, the idea of doing the hammer, whether you like the episode or not, with Jerry Callahan, after 2 minutes, he would have given up. So, and that's okay. But like, I also don't want to do every single day, you know, why is the media killing? Like, it's just, you know, not for me anymore.
Are you as upsetting as it was the way Jerry handled things when Entercom, you know, weaponized your mental health leave against you, which never gets fucking written about. But are you in a way glad? Because let's say Jerry left and you guys KNC went somewhere else, and you were doing KNC right now. Wouldn't you be wondering if you could do KMS on your own?
It worked out much better for me. I didn't want to. The truth is, down deep, I didn't really want to do a show with Jerry that much anymore. I liked it. I was very successful, but I felt like I was even coasting by early 2018. Merchant was still around then, but it felt like I was sort of like just bored totally by sports, bored by corporate stuff. And Jerry could do it, to his credit. He could coast and he could get his checks, and I think he had perspective that I don't have. And like, even right now, like, I don't know. I mean, for all I know, Jerry's getting a shitload of downloads. I have no idea. I never see a single thing on social media about his show ever. Like, no, I don't know if he's developed any characters. I don't know if he's got any running jokes. I don't know if he's had any great interview moments. There's no parody account. There's no, and maybe that's better. Maybe that's just easier, but that's the way it was before I got there. And that's the way it is from now that he's not with me anymore.
I used to love when you would, you'd have a bad day at EEI and you would hint about ending up at Barstool. And I remember, you know, they'd be going to commercial and you throw a Viva in there real quick.
Right.
I want to ask you something about Steve.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Would you like to say something nice about Steve?
He's the best.
What's Steve's, for people who don't know the industry, tell us about what Steve does versus what a typical producer in your experience does.
Well, I mean, it's ridiculous. He's the best coworker, or whatever, I guess he works for me, colleague I've ever had in this business. He runs the entire operation of the show. I handled the entire creative side with some help from John from Scranton and Barstool Advisor and those guys. Obviously, the Incel guys, as I learned today, are heavily involved creatively in the show, I guess is what DEC said today. So I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
But I handle the creative side 100%. Steve handles the business side 100%. He handles all the sales stuff, you know, which we're doing on our own. We have some help from Barstool. Like this week's a good example. We have Tommy John this week, right? So Tommy John's a Barstool one, which they just, you know, it's a lazy sales shitheads just dump off. It's time for the Kirk Minihane show. They have Tommy John next week. KFC will have it the week after. You know, fucking pardon my take or whatever. But then Steve, who's smart, says, hey, you know, we're in a weird time in history right now. What kind of companies could do well and get a boost from us? Well, people still have to brush their teeth. People still have to feed their dogs. People still need to drink coffee. So, you know, let's make a relationship with these places. And these places who are new and have had very little bang for their buck. Dr. Sheffield's a perfect example. I mean, they're like, holy shit, we're in the middle of a pandemic and we're selling out CVS's and we're doing this because I think two reasons. Steve's smart and the ads are so conversational and part of the show that people listen to it and the fans are great. They're loyal too. You know, I mean, and so that's a huge part of it. You know, Steve did the entire Wilbur thing. Steve handled the entire Madawaska thing. Steve handles potential clients. If there's a fire, Steve puts it out with Barstool. I do nothing. Steve put this together. You know, you contacted Steve, not me.
Yep.
I don't. Steve does literally. Now he's compensated really, really well for a producer, but you know, he handles the entire. He is, you know, obviously it's my show. I'm in charge, but he is a strong number two. You know, he does. Your average producer goes in, produces a radio show, leaves, books a couple of guests. takes a couple of phone calls, tells them when they're due their reads. Their day is done. Steve is going all the time, all the time. He texts me stories. I text him stories. He has ideas. I text him ideas. It's a two-way conversation all day, back and forth. It is not a three-way texting conversation. It's a two-way texting conversation.
Did he ever? He said he was going to look for a job after the shit on Steve-a-thon episode. Did that come to fruition, or are things better than ever?
I don't think so. I mean, I mean, maybe he'll come in tomorrow and say it's a job. Right now, I doubt it, but I don't think so. I think each one of these things, he's like, okay, this is what my life is now. Did he think he was going to be, cooking and ripping off his shirt and doing stuff and playing tennis when we first talked about the show? Probably not. He didn't know me that well. I think he knew me from like Cullen and stuff like that. And he was like, oh, this guy is this, but now he's embraced it, that's the other thing, is I think his character, or whatever you want to call it, on the show is also really evolved into, he's a really active part of the show's conversation. He's a huge voice on the show.
I can't believe how much I like Steve, because at the beginning I genuinely was like, this guy's just not a good fit.
I agree.
He had the big radio voice. His technical abilities were shockingly bad.
Right. He's not
in terms of cutting up audio and stuff.
He's not a born producer.
But
so
I love him now.
And he's great. And I do think the thing with his family at first, I think once he learned that, because the first day or two I was like, oh shit, like this guy is a radio guy. Like, fuck. Like I need a character. And I do think that's a big reason why we brought Mike in, and we brought in Bendinson, and we brought in Sue O'Connell, and we brought in MHB, and we brought in, and we're trying to figure out, what's going to work here. And I think once Steve realized, oh, this is, and what also helps, honestly, is when you see the social media reaction, which is insane every day. I mean, I'm sure in the 30 minutes we've been talking, there's been how many tweets involving people in our show? Just listeners. I don't know.
It never stops. I was up till like 1:30 in the fucking morning last night because of that MHB DEC episode.
Right.
That just set everything on fire.
Yeah. I mean, I go to bed at night and I wake up in the morning and I look on Twitter and on Discord and I look at the podcast, and this morning listening to those guys, and you're like, well, okay, here we go again. And I do think, like when I see, well, what did you think of those two?
I think I thought they were full of shit. And
really full of shit. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did. And I think that MHB needs to either be part of the world or get the fuck out and stay out. Because even that joke he told, people can debate whether it was racist, all that stuff. But to me, I felt like he went to a lazy joke because he's not even immersed enough anymore to know Phil well enough to make fun of him in a clever, effective way about something about Phil other than his ethnicity.
So I wonder, go ahead.
Well, and it just seems like they're getting, how many times did they reference that private chat? I feel like that needs to just, do you think it's toxic, or does it have some,
I don't really care about
some purpose for the show that I'm not aware of?
Around and like send pictures of like dicks to each other. I don't think it's that serious a thing, but I think with those guys, like I said, I really like those guys, and I appreciate that they were doing that stuff a year ago. But there is, I thought, a lot of jealousy in their voices today, which is almost like dad isn't, patting them on the head enough. That was my takeaway. And it's kind of like, well, this isn't how it works. Like you got to keep going all the time. We're not going to react to something from 4 months ago. You've got to do stuff that's interesting and different. And, I'm doing, and I get this all the time. I do get the sense that people are always looking for, hey, this, hey, that. Even Mike, just everyone do their thing. But here's the thing: when you create this sort of thing, and people start getting shows and getting attention and stuff like that, well, this is going to happen once in a while. But this whole, your first letter is this or your name is this. There's no upside to that. I don't understand.
Can I give you my nickel's worth of free advice on that?
Okay.
A month or two ago, somebody said, I think I figured out who the Steve's a liar guy is.
Mm-hmm.
You said on the show, if you expose who that guy is, I think you said, I'll fucking ruin your life. You
Right.
drew as hard a line in the sand as you can.
Mm-hmm.
This time around, it seemed to me that because the person threatening the doxing is part of, I guess, what I would call your elite inner circle of fans, you took a much softer approach
I don't
to
think
it.
on today's show, not at all. On today's show, I said, we're doing none of this. I think I said, if we do this, there's going to be fucking repercussions all over the place. Like there's no, like if somebody, whoever Phil is, if they dox him and cause now, do I think that he's being a little over dramatic about it? Yeah, a little bit. But and do I think that the joke was a big deal? No. I mean, if you listen to the show and you think that joke was a big deal, fuck off. I mean, really.
I do think some people in that inner circle definitely do what they can to identify everybody who has an anonymous account. And I think they share it within that channel. Like who?
Yeah.
Who was identified or who's doing
Who's doing the identifying?
I think MHB does.
He's not even around. I mean, he's not even, he's.
So you get things like, TJ Hubbard the other day put up a GIF of me. And I was like, where did he get that photo of me? And I totally believe TJ when he says it's been on his phone for a couple years and he doesn't even remember where it came from. I had to Google my real name and the town I live in to find that photo. It's from my fucking Rotary Club's website. I didn't even know that photo existed, which tells me yes, I'm a Rotarian. I'm like John Featherston. Your show has all the community service I used to do. I used to be on boards for a couple nonprofits and things like that. All gone. It's all KMS now. I'm doing KMS stuff instead of.
Glad to hear that. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I know.
So they're doing that stuff, and then they'll drop references to where you work, or maybe I'm being paranoid. I see people drop what I think are supposed to be subtle hints to other people that we know who you are and what you do for a living. So shut the fuck up because we could dox you at any moment.
Well, I mean, look, I really, 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 really hope that doesn't happen. If somebody in that inner circle, whatever you call it, does that, they will fucking reap the whirlwind. I will say that. They'll be gone.
Okay. All right, good.
Yeah, that's not even anything I give, give a fuck. That's, yeah.
You called me the C word today, which I've been waiting for since October of last year. In what way?
No, I mean, where did I don't remember? When did I? I'm sure I did. But when did I do it?
Steve read my tweet about Kelleher.
Oh,
and then you called me the C word. You called me a pussy.
Him is vomitous.
Okay,
he's a repulsive human being.
Can we get into Kelleher?
I mean, I'd like to do it as briefly as possible. He's a profit-hungry, clout-chasing fuckwad who I hope disappears from the planet Earth.
So I thought at the time, you later acknowledged it was inappropriate to put Kelleher, give him approval to represent the show in any capacity.
Absolutely, yes.
So then it seemed like it got held against him, the ways in which he went about representing the show.
He's trying to profit on his own and lie to us about these stickers.
So
which he admitted to in the phone call with me and Steve, and then basically ran away. We never heard from him again.
Okay, so I shouldn't say he admitted to it. We said to him, basically, are you doing this? He wouldn't acknowledge it, and we said, just go. Don't ever try and do something with us again. Go away. And he does these. I mean, to me, it's like Riccio. You're waving your arms around. I don't go for the pitch much. I think Riccio would destroy you if he had the chance. I think Kelleher is an overzealous fan who got close to the show and went insane, which so far DEC is the only person who's gotten close to the show who has not had a complete fucking meltdown, although I think he's headed that way.
Carano has.
Oh, Carano, that's a good point. Carano too. Yeah.
But and not only Dave.
Why would
either, but
okay. Why would Mincel Intel, I believe today you were saying if Kelleher is involved with their show,
they're gone.
They'd be canceled.
Correct.
So what's the rule? Are all of us fans? Because there's a lot of people that in DMs and privately like Rich and think he's just kind of a crazy fan, which we're all fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. So what's the rule? Are we?
Because I don't trust him like I don't trust Riccio. Now he's not as evil as Riccio, of course, but he is in it for himself, and he'd be willing to fuck us over. And he was trying to sell pictures of. He sent us a picture of stickers on a train track somewhere, and then we had plenty of people come back to us and say he was trying to sell this stuff to them. And he fucking lied to us, and I personally have no interest in communicating. He can listen to the show, obviously. You guys could DM with him, I guess, but if he has any creative input in any of these shows, and I find out about it, and I find out that people said he didn't, then they're fucking gone. It's my network. I mean, gone. These people could do with it. You can rip me all day long. Yeah. Have I ever said to you, don't do a show?
No, you actually were somewhat encouraging of it.
Right. Even Menners, you hate something on the show? He was ripping my kid. I don't care. But
see, I know.
Huh?
I would never rip Harry.
That's okay, but I mean, Menner's like, it was boring, the wrestling thing. That's I don't care. That's funny to me. That doesn't bother me. But this, like, I'm going to make money off of my work. Like, fuck off. That I have no patience for. And I don't even want to like see the. Like, I mute him. Like, just spare me the tweets that he has about this, because it's just going to. I find him to be very boring too.
The follow up would be.
He used that poor AJ too. Just used her. It was just disgraceful.
What about DEC? DEC as a sponsor now.
No problem.
So, can you explain why? Is it as obvious as it seems? The work he's put into it.
Individual podcast. Now it's a Minihane show podcast, but he raises the money for himself. He pays for it. He is not going around selling bootleg Kirk Minihane shirts or pitching them to companies or anything like that. He has a podcast. They pay for some of his costs. I'm guessing it's not a lot of money. So it's his own individual work. Kelleher wasn't doing any individual work. He was selling these bullshit stickers and lying to us about it. If DEC had said to us, hey, I don't have a sponsor, I'm just doing this for free, if I was making money, it might be an issue, but it really it wouldn't be. I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's a double standard there.
Yeah, I guess to me, I can totally understand someone asking the question. I think it's worth more thought.
I don't care about that. But I mean, it's his own work. It's his own. Like, if you he's not. DC is not on this net. Not in my. I'm not his boss.
Okay.
I mean, that was my intellectual property. Was my name. Was the name of the Kirk Minihane show on it. If DC did a podcast called the Kirk Minihane Show, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's not. I understand the question, but the comparison doesn't fly.
What if Kelleher was trying to cover costs?
For what?
For the sticker production. They cost money. That's what I'm saying. You guys think he was stealing. He says he was just trying to cover costs.
Reach out to us and tell me he was trying to sell them. Even after we asked him to stop, it was just a question of lying to us. It then became a question of just not telling us the truth.
Okay.
And when you don't trust somebody like that, then you're not going to send them out. Now, I wound him up. I get that. But, I mean, he's gone. I mean, he's gone forever. You guys could talk to him. I think he adds no value. I found him to be a bore, but that's okay. If he can wave his arms around and shit on Mike's show and DEC and MHB, we're not going to swing at the pitch. It's just he's not entertaining enough.
So let me ask you. You're our dad. Dad, are we allowed to be friends with Rich?
I mean, if you want to be,
Okay. But we can't. So no Rich on the YouTube, because I always thought a show with Rich and MHB, if you could get him to cut the act.
Kelleher's boring. I don't know what he's a bore.
I think I think it's an interesting scenario, and it speaks to how unique your show is, that two guys that are super fans who got incredibly close to the show and to their hero, and then had it all go terribly wrong and were
MHB
shit on by you.
So much smarter than Kelleher, and MHB's a dummy, but he's so much smarter than Kelleher. It's not even. Kelleher's a bore. He does nothing. I mean, you can ask 50 questions. It's not going to happen.
Okay. All right. All right.
I mean, and I'm glad he listens and all that. If he does, that's great. Thanks. But, I don't know what to say.
I think the big takeaway here for me is that you called me the C word and then didn't even, a few hours later, no recollection of why.
I remember nothing about the show.
I know. You made the same, you shit on me in the same way twice within 2 weeks about the Sheffield's toothpaste, because I bought some because I wanted you to call me. Right. And you twice made the joke about how you're not going to call me.
Yeah, it's a fact. I mean, you could spend $50 million on it. I wouldn't call you.
This doesn't count, though. I think
this counts.
I think I'm still owed a call. All right. Wait, can I wrap up with what I would have asked you about in the, or do you want to keep going?
We can go with another. Ask if you have a few more questions. You can ask them.
I mean, Kirk, I got 2 pages of questions.
Okay,
So just tell me to fuck off when you're done. Steve did say that this probably shouldn't be an interview, which sorry, Steve.
Well, I get that. That's a hard spot.
All right, let me see. Did Steve give you the Mike and Madawaska cuts that I made?
I don't even know what you're talking. I swear I don't know what you're talking about.
You said a while ago, how come we don't have cuts of drunk Mike from Madawaska? So I cut up like 30 drops of Mike from Madawaska and I sent them to Steve.
No, were they bad or no?
I mean, they're excellent. They're bad for Mike.
Right.
They're pretty funny.
Okay. Well, okay. I'll find out about those. I don't know.
I did ask Steve to protect me though, because I was worried if they played the drops and it riled you up and you ended up retroactively firing him from Madawaska. I didn't want people menacing me. And I asked you if Blind Mike's lazy. I asked you about Steve. All right. I'm scared to say the name Bob Murchison. So that tells you everything you need to know about that situation. How much money did he reportedly cost EEI with his campaign?
You know, I don't know.
Is it 8 million? That's
that's as good a guess as any. I mean, it's like, you know, who knows, because there's no perfect answer to that, but I would say at least 5 million, maybe more. But I mean, people were just national, and it really was mostly national. It would be like if Murchison was going at us now, which he will do again, I'm sure. Like a place like Sheffield would stay. A place like Smith's Cheese would stay. But a place like Tommy John, for example, may bail because they just don't know what it's about. They don't understand the bump that we give them. So they're like, fuck it, just put the money over to KFC or to whoever. But yeah, 8 million is a good guess. I don't know. It cost me a lot of money.
Do you think it's always bothered me so much that story? I mean, there was the one Boston Magazine article. I think is that the only time it was written about on record? And then Buck's story a little bit.
Shirley, I think, wrote about it. No, maybe she didn't even reference that.
No.
It's amazing that Chad Finn, when I left Entercom, wrote a story and didn't reference it. And somebody tweeted at him. He's like, yeah, I wasn't able to verify it. And I'm like, you're just a fucking coward. You know,
so the thing I love about you most, Kirk, is your role as a media watchdog, because that's where my interests align with yours. Right. And it drives me crazy that one guy with an assist from a fucking Boston Globe editor single-handedly changed the landscape of one of the biggest sports media markets in the country.
Never discussed.
Never fucking talked about. And now Entercom's stock is in the toilet. And you'd think the stockholders might be interested in knowing. Maybe I'm overvaluing how big of an effect it had, but
I don't know.
Somebody cost one of their flagship stations millions of dollars. Is that ever going to change? Is journalism, are people ever going to have the balls to talk about this stuff?
People I like Rob Bradford, it is hard a pussy. Like somebody sent me a story Rob wrote the other day about the Brady interview with Stern, and he quoted Curtis in it. And Curtis said he'd never seen Brady like this except for the Alex Guerrero interview or something like that. And Rob in the story, my name's actually in it, but he said Brady went head to head with the well-researched team of John Dennis, Jerry Callahan, and Kirk Minihane for 40 minutes about Guerrero. The whole thing was me and Brady. If you listen to that interview, John and Jerry were terrified. They were never going to piss Brady off. As I always used to say, Jerry worked the right nut, John worked the left. Like, it was a 40-minute real sit-in. But Rob can't write that because he's afraid to write it. He's afraid. The media's afraid. You're seeing it, it'll happen again. Like, nobody's going to really go at John Henry in this town because they're afraid. They're afraid of John Henry. They're afraid of Linda Pizzuti. I'm not. And when that happens, you wind up doing podcasts or YouTube shows with fucking Andy Mayo and your dark basement at fucking 8 o'clock at night. But that's okay.
Sorry, Kirk.
But I would much rather do the show. It worked out best. I couldn't, and there is no, other than me, there is, I would argue, almost in America, no media watchdog who's as prominent as I am. Like guys like Tucker Carlson, but they are completely biased one way or the other. Like, I'm not. I'll look at the story either way. It interests me on both sides, the bias.
Yeah, you tend to be down the middle with things.
I'm a Republican. Steve feeds me stories that are,
I'm sure.
And he has his thing, and that's okay. But like the Tara Reid thing, I find very interesting because I think it's a great study in whether you like Trump or hate Trump or whatever. It's a good media study. But go ahead, fire away a couple more. You got a few more minutes.
Do you think you have a double standard for fans? The elite circle of fans. I've got a couple. So Mincel Intel, again, twice now you've said that they don't really like you, which I strongly disagree with, and that they're doing this to chase Barstool clout.
Right. Yes.
And they've been on the verge of cancellation since they were.
You do understand that I do that to some extent because I know it's going to get a rise out of that.
Okay. Well, it's those lines are always blurry, so I never know. You saying you hate.
I do think they care more about, like, for example, it was a good interview. He seems like a nice guy, but like, if you ask me personally, do I give a fuck about the Zonker interview? The answer is no.
But isn't it good for you, for your show?
Why?
Because if Zonkers, it's my understanding is it's like a 10-year saga that he's been around, and so if that brings a bunch of Barstool people in who are interested in hearing this guy talk, I don't know, but
I don't care about. I'll tell you who else doesn't care about the address barstool.com. Do you think Dave Portnoy cares about that?
I don't know.
In 2020? No. But I like the fact those guys went and got it. So my thing is I appreciate the fact that they're doing that. I like the hustle. The interview doesn't matter that much to me.
So the double standard I was going to
I
say
hold them differently than I hold Steve from Providence. Is that the question?
yeah, well, the more specific example, because I knew to come with examples, Kirk, is TJ Hubbard,
Right.
and I'm not saying it's a bad thing he's doing it, or I'm not saying it's a bad thing you gave him a pass, but TJ Hubbard, you gave a complete pass for chasing Big Cat and for sticking with Mutt and Callahan.
Show with Big Cat, like I don't, but like, and I also like Big Cat. I think the bigger thing is the double standard because I like Big Cat. If he was doing it to Willie Colon, like, or not, well, I even get along with him, okay. But if he was doing it to somebody I really disliked all the time, I'd be pissed off. But I like Dan, like he's my friend. He's actually like an actual friend of mine.
Okay,
so, and he's been a great supporter of the show. I mean, huge supporter of the show, Big Cat.
It's not more so that TJ's a made guy. It's not a loyalty
what
thing.
He really done that's, I mean, so
TJ's actually productive. There's some of your
great.
made guys. I don't know why they're made guys. TJ does
He's
stuff.
a very nice guy. And so I left, I talked about this a couple weeks ago. I left DEI. What was he going to do? Wake up in the morning in the middle of Maine and sit there and cry all day? Like that's unreasonable. I think
I didn't listen to Mutt and Callahan.
Well, it was a terrible show.
It was awful.
Yeah, it was fucking terrible. But look, it was on the show, hosting the show, and look at Jerry. Yeah, but I don't no. But that's where I start to say. I think a couple of weeks ago, I was like, do I really need to make this? Do I really need to ruin TJ Hubbard all upset? Because I found out 13 months ago, he sent a couple of tweets to Mike Manansky and Jerry Callahan. And maybe at the time, things were good between me and those guys. Like, do I need to, because it was, with me, it's up and down. Do I really need to go back in history, look at the calendar? He's a great guy. The fucking guy went to Madawaska. The guy was at the fucking hot dog eating contest. He was at court in Woburn. Like, what? That's to me loyalty.
Please understand, I'm not advocating.
And you were in none of these places.
I'm not saying you should have flipped out on TJ. I'm saying I think, to my perception, was perhaps the Mincel Intel guys would have been flipped out on for that.
It was John from Scranton at Woburn? Was he at Madawaska?
Okay, I got it.
Was he at the Vigil? Was he at the hot dog?
He's new.
Okay, but that's my point. So these guys like TJ have proven that
okay.
To me, Steve from Providence has been there the whole time. Like that does mean something to me. And if it turns out that they do something bad and they double cross or they go somewhere else, like if I found out that Steve from Providence was friends with Joe Zarbana, was messaging with fucking Shirley Leong, then I would go much harder than even if John from Scranton did.
Okay. What about I got another one. I got another example.
Okay.
How do you think you would have reacted if I had proposed a 3 to 5 minute Mayo skit at the Wilbur show?
Who did that?
Latino Kirk.
Oh God. But
total pass. Whereas I ask you to come on a show minutes after you fucking say that you would go on any show.
Right.
And it was a hilarious 10-minute ripping.
But
maybe it's because he's a nice guy. Is it as simple as I am not as nice as Latino Kirk, so he gets a pass?
Foreign guy who doesn't have a great grasp of the language. So maybe it got lost in there. But you know what it is the difference is like you are this sort of contrarian, like forced contrarian bullshit.
Don't like that.
And he like sent this earnest, really well-meaning, sweet note.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I going to do? This poor guy, what am I going to do? He really meant well. You talk about 5 minutes of a 200 or 120 minute show, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot. And it's Latino Kirk up there for 5 minutes in the middle of a live show that people have spent hundreds of dollars, and these tickets, some of them are going for thousands of dollars.
And you're right too, Kirk. I am a pussy. I'll admit that.
Yeah.
Because it's, to me, here's a metaphor for you. Twitter to me is like you're driving by and you see on the side of the road Latino Kirk proposing a skit at the Wilbur, and you drive by and out the window you go, you suck, you're boring, you shouldn't be on stage at the Wilbur, fuck you, and you just keep going. Whereas now with Discord and the YouTube shows and the interaction in the community, it's like you yell that, and then you have to stop the car and get out and go talk to that person for 20 minutes, and you end up being much more rational and nice about it. At least me.
Say this, like I brought it up with Latino Kirk on the air. It's not like I just let it
that's
go.
true.
I
That's
talked
true
about it, which I think was probably upsetting to him. Most people would never discuss it.
He's got a thick skin.
I think so. Yeah,
he's been okay with Menners has taken some pretty big dumps, as big as Menners dumps can be.
And guys like him usually have super fiery tempers, so that's good.
Do you think that at times Kirk Minihane is the Red Sox and the Minifans are Jared Carrabis?
Do I think at time? Well, I'm never the Red Sox. I would like a better comparison, but
I can't. I'm sorry. That's the only. I can't think of.
well,
one.
I know you do this all the time. That you're one of these guys who brings truth to a world where it's like,
No,
which
not
is
true.
fine,
I admit I'm wrong all the time. I
also think for me, it's like, for a lot of these listeners, I am their sports team. I am their Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
I am their favorite TV show. They spend 3 hours a day with me. And I think they agree with a lot of what I do. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, they were awfully angry about the pizza thing. And they're going to be like, there'll be times again when they're angry. Like tomorrow, we're going to announce the 5K thing. And they're probably going to be pissed off at what we're going to charge for it, because you can't win, right?
You're charging us?
Yes, of course.
What?
It's a business.
We get, what do we get? What do we get?
A t-shirt. So if you're paying, I mean, you can go run 3 miles if you want, but you get a t-shirt. If you want to run the 5K, you get a t-shirt, and Steve will explain it tomorrow. And there's also some special thing that gets you whatever for the race and does your time. And there's some sort of thing, potential to win prizes. We're going to give away a bunch of shit. And people are going to flip out. They're going to say, well, why isn't this free? And my argument will be, well, A, it is free if you just want to run on your own. You don't get a shirt. And, B, you don't have to fucking do it. Nobody's putting a gun down your throat and telling you to do it. C, we work for a company that's trying to make money in a tough time, and they look at this as a chance to make money. So they're going to be people like, what the fuck? I thought it was going to be free. You guys said it was going to be free, which we never said. It's a t-shirt. So, if you want the shirt, great. If you don't want it, don't fucking get it.
I guess I didn't realize it was so formal. I thought it was just kind of like, hey, let's all do this thing at the same time for camaraderie.
Run it that way. It's going to be, then would be a mess. We're paying a company to run it for us. We're paying for the shirts to be made. And if you can't, and as I've said, I think I said it the other day, and I'll say it tomorrow, if you're going through stuff financially, like many people are, and you can't pay for it at all, if it's a penny and you can't pay it, don't fucking pay it. But people are so addicted to it, want to be part of the mix so much, they're going to get angry at not being part of it. I know how this fucking works. They're going to get all pissed off at me, and I'm going to get pissed off back at them for doing something that's perfectly reasonable. We're going to throw a bunch of stuff in there. If X amount of people do it, we're going to give away a couple of tickets to the Wilbur. If X amount of people do it, we're going to do a drawing for another free live show at somebody's house. I'm going to personally, if we get to a certain amount, donate a certain amount to the charity of somebody whose name we draw. So, I mean, in terms of interaction, nobody else does stuff like this. Literally nobody.
If I win the home concert, the creepy pillows with no pillowcases, yes. That's where you're sitting.
You will not win.
And I don't want Steve and Mike here.
This is somebody that, what was it? The guy paid what, $7,500 for that show?
Yeah, I don't have that kind of
but we're gonna do
scratch, as Mike would say.
Free, or for the charge for the shirt and the entry fee, which is going to be like $35-$40 or something.
That's fair. Like I said, I thought it was just let's all go run at the same time.
Do that too. That's the other thing. If you also want to do it that way, do it that way. That's fine.
You guys are gonna get shit. I can already tell it's gonna piss you off too.
It's gonna totally piss me off.
You're already worked up.
Nobody else is doing. We're trying to do it to bring everybody together. We work for a company that needs to make money. If I was doing it on my own, would I charge as much? Probably not. But they make these shirts a cost. So it's not like they make 3,000 shirts.
Do you want credit or not credit, but recognition for how unique the podcast is in terms of the audience interaction?
Yeah. I crave it.
You guys were talking recently about, there was some story that had a source in it who was like a professor of modern media at a university. And
I don't want that.
And but I remember thinking like someone like that would probably be interested in the Kirk Minihane show because of how unique it is.
Honestly,
yes,
culture, but no, but I mean, I don't crave it, but I mean, it's fine. And what's important is I know the people at Barstool who matter are very well aware of it. And they've said they've never seen loyalty like this from an individual show. So the people who matter the most understand it.
Yeah, you're talking to me. Is there any more powerful testament to how fucking crazy you guys are?
Yeah, and if we do this for a couple of years, and after a couple of years, Barstool says, we're going to offer you this much, and I'm going to look at it and say, well, maybe if I do my own thing, I'll make a little more and have complete freedom, or it'll be close, then maybe I'll do that. But that's probably at least 2 years, 3 years away.
I put a gun to my head, you're going to do that. I feel like that's inevitable.
That'd be my guess, too. Probably not.
I feel like you'd be driven to see if you could do that.
Well, I think.
What do you think? Is that accurate?
Maybe. I think the big difference with me versus 98% of the other shows right now is I have, 3 or 4 live shows a year the size of the Wilbur that I have in my back pocket, which is a revenue generator on my own that could pay for a lot of what we're going to do.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
what's the ballpark there for
the Wilbur?
Can you get into that stuff? Yeah.
So I think with the 2 Wilbur shows, selling them out with merchandise and with sponsors. Now, what's happened in the last few months has changed the game a lot. But if there had been no coronavirus and we're looking at June 20, was it going to be June 22nd?
It's 20th.
20th. Yeah, June 22nd because my mom passed. So June 20th, like 175, 200 maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, think about it. It's 1,200 seats sold out at whatever, an average of 60, right? 65 a pop or whatever. So that's 65 grand, 70 grand right there. 2 shows.
Not my strong suit. I'll take your word for it. Yep.
Merchandise, a couple of sponsors. Yeah, that's probably about right. Now, of course, then you got to pay your taxes, and then now with us, you got to pay your taxes. Barstool takes a big slice. So when you walk, Wilbur takes, I think the Wilbur takes 12 grand for the show.
Yeah.
I think that's right. So then
seems reasonable.
Totally. Well, that's why we did it the same day as opposed to doing 2 different days. So I think they take 12 grand, then 2 grand for the second show versus 24 grand for 2 days.
I was wondering why you guys did that. I mean, okay.
So, we walk away with, not a lot for this, but it's also nice to know that we could do it. And if the show gets bigger, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, well, maybe we pop into fucking upstate New York and do a show with 400 people and we raise 15 grand that night. And when you're running your own company and paying insurance and doing this and doing that, that might be a nice way to do that. Now, again, that's why it's great to have Steve along for the ride. He knows that more than I do. But, I don't know. I mean, I'd like 1,000 people to buy these shirts for this 5K. But if they don't want to, if we sell 6 of them, it doesn't really matter to me. But people are going to get, and I will not handle because the pizza fund's different. Like Steve stole that money, he kept it. Fine, we all know that by now. Like he clearly lied and kept the money.
My take on the pizza fund is I didn't think you guys stole money from people. I just said if you have a fundraiser and at the end of the day there's any ambiguity on the part of the donor as to where their money went and how it was used, then you fucked up as a fundraiser.
Sure, I know, and I said,
that's all I said. It's
an individual issue with it. Let us know. We'll return the money to you. Let us know what you spent. We'll return the money to you. And I don't even remember the details of it, but it was essentially what we used it to do. What I don't even remember.
It was supposed to be a billboard. It was pitched as a billboard.
We used it for the vigil,
and then it got
So my thing was, if we're doing it to fight Murchison versus we're doing it to fight Murchison. And I actually felt, and as it turned out, we were right. It was a far more effective way of fighting Murchison. A billboard, if we just done a billboard, not a vigil that day, Murchison would still be doing this.
This might be a really stupid question, but
5 more minutes.
Is there, okay. Thank you, Kirk. Is there any part of you that's grateful that Bob Murchison entered your life? Or do you think you could have gotten where you are without him?
No, I understand what you're saying. I'd probably be here anyway.
Okay.
Because the thing that people forget, and I mentioned this a few weeks ago, was I got suspended, almost fired for a week for destroying the Red Sox.
I remember.
It became a war, and they would have, if I had taken time off, if Murchison hadn't got in my life out, my mental health has got nothing to do with him. It's about me. And I would have gone away at some point, and the Red Sox would have used that as a reason in the EI to keep me away, and that would have driven me out. So I was heading out one way or another. Murchison, I think, is crazy. I think the Red Sox are evil. I think they're calculated. So I hate them much more than I hate Murchison. Much more.
Really?
Oh, there's nobody I hate more than the Red Sox. Nobody.
Oh, wow.
Shirley, because Shirley works for them. She's doing their bidding. Like, it all comes from them. They hated me. They didn't like the fact that I existed. They didn't like the fact that I shit on them. John Henry's an asshole. I used a word to describe you today. I would use that word to describe others in the Red Sox organization. I'll say Sam Kennedy just to stay out of trouble. And then there's other people in that organization I hate. I just fucking hate them. And they're evil, true. And you're seeing it now with this whole thing. They're just evil, petty, and it goes all the way back to Francona. They're just evil, petty people. And then they get mad when people call them out. And I spend a lot of time in my day thinking of ways to get back at them. And I will. One day I will.
Any investigations into anyone in the Red Sox world right now? think you know what I mean, right? Come on,
so
Kirky. We DM'd about it.
wait, currently in the Red Sox organization?
Yes, one of the in the ownership group, Tom Werner.
Oh, with Cosby?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, of course, always. I had a good.
No, I
quote
mean, you're
from-
working.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I don't want to tip your hand.
no, it's okay. No, I've done a lot of work. I've talked about it on the show. I've done a lot of work on it. It is, I will say, hard to say. Like, there's no smoking gun where it's like Tom Werner was standing outside the dressing room at Bill Cosby's show where this happened. You know, it's just there just has not been that moment yet. Do I think Werner knew everything about Cosby? Of course I do, because I lived in LA 20 years ago. People were talking about Cosby then. Can I right now prove that Tom Werner, saw it or witnessed it, or somebody went to Tom Werner and Tom Werner dismissed it? I can't do that. No, if I find out, then of course I'll report it.
The Cosby thing, Kirk, to me, it highlighted to me why I think guys like you are important, because before I started listening to you, I was probably the type of person who would have given Cosby the benefit of the doubt. And I would have given people on the liberal side of things the benefit of the doubt, and CNN. But we need people to point out that famous people and big media companies can be just as full of shit as your neighbor, as anybody else on the planet. And they have power, which makes, when they're pieces of shit and do terrible things, it has an even bigger effect because they wield that power. And so, the Cosby thing in particular, that Chasing Cosby podcast,
it's great.
Was incredible in the worst kind of.
Absolutely.
It's just I can't believe that guy got. He didn't murder anybody, but he essentially took away so many people's lives.
A lot of ways worse than murder, and I mean a lot of ways, because he left them alive and dealing with it, and that's why, listen, I think this guy's actually a very nice guy. In my experience with him, he's been very nice to me. But this is why I think a guy like Brady, you get a lot of pushback when you're critical of him. Mm-hmm. I think Brady's dangerous because I don't think he's very bright. I think he's been brainwashed and he's peddling this shit. But I think in a way that's really dangerous. And nobody talks about that except for me. I mean, and part of it is, and I admit part of it is I have a hard on for it because, Brady and I battled and all that stuff. But people treat him like he's a god because he can fucking throw a football. And it's like, it doesn't work for me anymore. But yeah, I mean, the Cosby stuff, but that being said, I was aware of the Cosby, Andrea Constant thing in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. I wouldn't fucking say anything about it. So until Hannibal Buress spoke up, you need moments like that. And, who the hell else knows what's going on with people like that? But yeah, I'm fascinated by the Werner thing, and I'm continuing to work on that and a couple of other people as well. You got one more.
All right. Here's what I wanted to talk to you about on the toothpaste call. This is I guess this is a fitting final question. Not your favorite series of all time, not your favorite series finale of all time. I want to know what you think is the best final series moment in television history. What series had the best final moment?
My favorite series finale moment. I get these questions, a lot of stuff like that, and I always think, let me think about it some more because I know I'll forget one.
You want to do this again next week? You can get back to me.
Yes. I really like, I like when Norm comes back into the bar and it's just Ted Danson, Sam, and Norm at the very last episode of Cheers, before Sam turns the lights out. It's just the two of them talking. It's probably my two favorite characters on the show. And they really do you a big Cheers fan or no?
I've never watched Cheers.
Oh, wow. Geez. Well, yeah.
Never seen Top Gun. 34.
Okay. They were kind of better friends than you thought while you watched the show, those two guys. And they have a really nice moment together. I like, that'd probably be my one, probably. I like moments like that. I like when, I'm trying to think of my favorite moment in the final episode of The Sopranos.
Well, no, it has to be literally the final moment.
Oh, the actual final moment of the series?
Yes, final scene or yeah.
So that scene with George Wendt and with Ted Danson is the last. Ted Danson says they talk, he leaves, and then somebody knocks on the door, and Sam says, "Sorry, we're closed," and then they go to black, which I like. That's a great series finale. Why? What would you say?
I would say Justified.
Yeah, I don't remember the
Which
finale.
fuck! I thought we were gonna. I thought this was gonna be the like Mayo, you and me. Yeah, you know, we got a lot in common. Maybe we should be friends moment.
Probably.
It ends with spoiler alert, everybody, for Justified. You watched Justified, right? I thought I remember. Did you read the Elmore Leonard short story and the novels that it's based on?
I love Elmore Leonard.
Best television series ever in terms of capturing the spirit of the source material. Well, straying from it significantly.
Right.
But it's Boyd Crowder in jail, and Raylan's on the phone with him, and they say to each other, you know, because we dug coal together, and that's the last moment.
Right,
I think better than anybody else. That show had the best final moment.
The show is not remembered historically.
No, it should be.
It was a good one. I'm trying to think. It's a good question.
But Walton Goggins should be a huge. Walton Goggins and Timothy Oliphant, I thought, would be big stars by now.
How's Walton? Was he a big movie star? I mean, he's an odd looking guy. He's not. Like
He is. He should be. I could see him being a villain. He's a great actor. Great actor.
Yes. So what did you feel like you've asked all the questions you needed to ask?
I could never ask you all the questions I have. Actually, I think we did go through all of them. I'm sorry, Kirk.
I'm like 3 weeks anyway. Right?
Well, that's another thing. So you shit on me. You didn't like me on the Minihane show. You said you were over Mayo after that in Mike's show.
Right.
I didn't. I feel like I shouldn't do my show if I'm going to do other shows within the same week.
Well, I don't think Mike should have a limit every week on the amount of people he has on the show who already have shows.
Okay.
Like, I don't think it needs to be like, hey, here's Mayo. Hey, here's whoever, the Quantum Week guy. Hey, here's one of the Middle ladies. Like, find some new people. Now, I wasn't thrilled that he had on my guy for an hour last week. That was a mistake.
I didn't even watch that because
of it, and like it's sort of a study in how you don't do it versus how you do it.
And Mike said something about that guy that I don't know if it's true in the first hour, but if it is true, I felt like I didn't. It ended up making me feel like it might be exploitative to.
I think it is probably, but I think
so I didn't watch.
Way to do it when you have them on, like I did the other day, and sort of gently play along, and also there's a way to do it. And it wasn't Mike's fault, but he had him on for an hour, you know, whatever. It's like, what the fuck do I? But like, so this week with Mike's show, it's me. First hour, it's me, Mike, Adam, and Ryan, my brothers. It's Mike and the Minihanes for the first hour, and then I'm going to be on with 2 other Minifans in that second hour.
Okay.
So I think it'll be.
It's going to be Tim and Canton and Steve from Providence.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So
Mike likes dipping into that well.
I don't mind interacting with people I've never done anything with. So I mean, it's. I think this is going to. Maybe people will be sick of me by the end of next week. I have no idea.
Well, Kirk. Oh, you know what? I do have one more thing. One segment that did not come over from EEI that I thought would, and I'm disappointed. Abortion Tuesdays.
Did I do Abortion Tuesdays?
You used that. There were a couple times where that would come up, and you would start kind of riffing on as if that was a recurring segment on KNC.
Like, almost like a improv kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. You're right. You're R.A. Minihane. Right. Right again.
Abortion I don't. Would it make Jerry laugh?
I think so. Yeah. I think in like guilty Catholic kind of way. But the concept was that people would call in and share their stories as if it was,
Jesus.
Yes.
Yes. I remember Gary would always say, Tangler would always say to me, like, you know, he would say your best quality and your most important quality is you make Jerry laugh. And there's a lot of truth in that. Cause like, you know, like I check in on Jerry once in a while on Twitter and it's just like, everything is like, you know, and you're just like fucking light. And he probably looks at mine. He's like, holy, who are these? What the fuck are you retweeting? Who are these people? So
his logo says it all.
What is it?
His logo says it all of who he wants to be and what he wants his show to be. It's the screaming caricature of the pissed off guy.
Yeah,
that's like, what he went with.
But like, you know, so I don't do a lot of the EI stuff. Like tonight's fine, but like I retweeted the thing about the Suburban yesterday because I like listening to that because Jerry laughs so hard in it that it makes like I'm like that's a good memory. I enjoy because I remember exactly where I was. We were laughing, and I was like, "This is the point where John wasn't there that day," and I was like, "This is actually working." Like, holy shit! I remember thinking that, like, "Wow, I'm actually doing this. Like, I figured this out."
It was pivotal.
Yeah, I mean, Mutt stepped all over it, but
of course, I will never get tired. I will never, ever, ever get tired because I hate EEI and what they did to you so much. I will never tire of you shitting on people at EEI and on the station. I don't care how many new fans you have who don't appreciate it. When EEI is dead and Dale Arnold is doing, afternoons somewhere in New Hampshire, I still want the Kirk Minihane show to tune in live and just dump on Dale, 5 years from now.
Well, you were, playing slapdick with Greg Hill on social media, but that's okay.
Hey, Greg, listen, you were wrong. You were wrong. You said he'd come in 10th place.
Oh, I know, but you're right. I said that. I admitted I was wrong.
And then he came in 2nd place. And sometimes, Kirk, I like it when you're wrong, and I feel like a lot of people don't, try to rub your face in it.
That's fine. My issue is not so much with you. It is with and I worked with Chris a lot, and I know that it would drive Chris crazy if we lost a weekly by 1/10 of a point. So for Chris to be part of a show where they're celebrating losing by 8 points.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't care if I was in 2nd place or 22nd place. If you lose by the last weekly, they lost by 10 points and they were in 2nd place, I'd be fucking vomiting. And these guys are like saying how great it is. That to me hurts me to my core knowing Chris, but that's a different conversation.
Well, that's another one where, as soon as you guys pointed that out, I was like, well, that's true. That's pretty fucking
You're right, but no, listen. And even their ratings now.
I just like a good victory lap. And I felt like he kind of was dunking on people that shit on him.
I've transferred it now to I'm happy that Greg's doing better ratings than Jerry and Mutt did, because I know that drives
yes.
Jerry. As he told me, he's like, that's the one thing I don't want you to talk about because it drives me crazy. And he should know by now that he should never say that to me. So with that, I bid you a good evening. And,
Kirk,
goodbye.
Thank you for the time.
Anytime, Andy. See you later, buddy.
I'm going to take you up on that. Okay, so there you have it. Nickel's worth of free advice with Kirk Minihane. Not a lot of advice given out in it. I apologize for straying from the format. Latino Kirk, I know you like the lessons. I apologize to Steve Robinson, too. Steve said he didn't think all of these YouTube shows with Kirk should be interviews. I totally see what he's saying, but couldn't help it. I went into it. I was going to try to stick to the format. Just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Unbelievable experience. Great job, Kirk. One thing I didn't ask him that I forgot about was he's always said that Goodell should just play along with Barstool and go talk to Portnoy, and it would neutralize Portnoy and Barstool. And I don't know if that's why Kirk did this, but it fucking worked. Okay, I'm driving to Pennsylvania right now. I'm gonna get the pom poms from MHB, and I'll be waving them around more enthusiastically than he ever did. No, I don't know about that, but it was fucking great. I speechless. Speechless. It's just,
you're making it a bigger thing because it's the Red Sox, but there's also a thing of it's being swept under the rug because it's the Red Sox. You know what I mean?
No, I don't.
I don't see Will.